This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Artist Nina Fritz on this edition of Conversations. From the quaint coastal town of Seaside in Northwest Florida to various venues in Europe, Nina Fritz's talents have been in demand both as a painter and a teacher. It's hard to look at one of her paintings and not feel like you're part of the scene or personally familiar with the subject. Somehow, with paint and canvas, she takes you on location and makes you intimately familiar with an old friend perhaps you've never met. We're glad to meet and welcome Nina Fritz to Conversations. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Where did it all begin? What sparked your interest in art?
It all began in Japan.
Japan, of all places.
I never grew up thinking I want to be an artist. That just never entered my mind. I was always very athletic in school, played all the sports, lacrosse, softball. I was the pitcher for our softball team. I even was on the basketball team, believe it or not, as short as I am, but I kept the bench warm all season. It wasn't until after we were married and we were in Japan, and at that time everybody had a maid, so I just went to the art center and I wanted to do pottery. But I was walking down the hall one day and I peeked in this room and they were all painting this still life. And at that time, a light bulb went off and I thought, that's what I want to do. Wow. And I've never stopped. And at the time I thought, well, let me put this in, this is funny. We had 2 children at the time, and while we were in Japan, I had 2 more. And on the invitations, I had a little baby made in Japan.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. But, and I thought, well, you know, when we get back home, I'm going to have to give it all up. But I have a wonderful husband who said, no, you're not. You're going back to school. You're going to, and then and I'm still a student. I'll forever be a student. And I just love the facility of painting. Yeah. And I don't know why I never got started sooner.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. You were essentially an adult when you got started.
I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was anybody in your family artistically?
My grandfather, who was in Italy, he was an artist. Okay. And my first cousin, he's an artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think when you get to the level where you are, is it a natural talent, or is it a talent that anybody could get to if they're willing to work hard enough, or both?
I think it takes a love, a passion. Mm-hmm. Talent is very little. It counts for very little. Yeah. I don't think I'm talented, but I work very hard. Yeah. Every morning when I get up, I practice. And my drawing is for nobody else to see. It's just practice drawing. I do it for at least 30, 40 minutes every morning. Wow. If I don't do that, I lose my facility. Yeah. And if I don't draw for a week, I notice it.
Really?
If I don't draw for a month, you notice it.
I got you.
And if I go for a year or more, I have to start all over again.
So you just wake up every morning and what would you draw, or what do you draw?
Right now, Soraya is my favorite artist, and that changes. I go from one master to the other. But I sit at my desk and prop his book up and just copy his work and try to get it as accurate as I can.
What is it about him you like?
Well, for one thing, I think when you study somebody or study with somebody, I think you really have to like this person, and I really like him. Mm-hmm. He died in 1925, but he was a real family man. He loved his wife, he loved his family, and his art is just, it's kind of like, having a senior moment here, but it's just real loose and flowing.
Yeah, it communicates to you in a certain way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. I'm just kind of curious. You say you get up in the morning and you draw, so I'm assuming you do that with a pencil or something like that. How different is it? This may sound like I know this is a very novice type question, but I'm curious. How different is it to draw versus to take a brush and paint?
Jeff, I think the color and applying color and painting, that can be learned just almost overnight. That's a little exaggeration, but that can be learned very fast. The drawing takes years, and it's just sticking with it and trying to get it as accurate as you can. And it takes a long time to really be accurate.
So it's more difficult to draw than it is to paint.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I need to take a little bit of water.
Sure. Well, take me back too, because I'm curious. You said you started as an adult, so you and your husband get back to the United States, and you start. Now, do you start taking art classes at that point?
He was military, and everywhere we moved, I enrolled in the college or studied with a master. Right. I was always studying. Even today, I go away on workshops and study. This is a funny story. When we go back every year, I'm from New Jersey, every year we go back and family reunions, high school reunions. And I was at this high school class reunion, and I was raised on a farm. And we all worked. We got up, milked the cows in the morning, and came home after school and packaged the harvest, whatever was in harvest at the time. And our friends would come to the farm and help us do our chores so we could go and with them and have fun. And so this one man came up to me at our high school reunion. He said, "I want to know how you got from the tomato patch to where you are now." Yeah.
And of course, when you paint, what is your favorite thing to paint, or for that matter, draw?
You know, I said I started after I was married, but all during my school years, the teachers all knew I had a little knack for drawing, and I was always drawing something for them. And at the time, they had these posters of people, the Poppy poster contest at the time, and I drew this soldier, and I've always been drawn to figures. I love faces. I would love to paint you just sitting there like that. I am very attracted, and I never get bored. Never get bored with the figure. And it's what I love to do more than anything else.
Are there particular types of people you like to paint or draw? I ask that, I mean, like young, old, you know, men, women, etc., or does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Really?
It doesn't matter. It's, no. I don't like to draw around people. I like people that have, like you. You're slim, and I'm drawn to people like that. But no, there's no particular person.
We take a look at this piece of video right here now. Is this is a child?
That's my grandson,
Your
William.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did that take place? Obviously, I guess on the beach.
Yeah, and that was done from a photograph. I do work from reference material, but my biggest love is working from life, having the model come sit. And there's something about working live outdoors, whether you're at a landscape or working live from the live model. There's a power there that you don't get when you use reference material.
I guess there's more of a realness, huh?
It's an energy that goes back and forth. And there's the downside when I'm working from life. You don't get the exact likeness that you would get if you studied a photograph. But to me, it's more creative. I'm losing my voice. I need to take a drink.
That's quite all right. And of course, these are two young ladies that you painted there and captured. Now, did you do that off a picture, or were they was that?
My photographer went, and we took about 100 digitals, and the parents came and they looked at all the digitals, and we just put it together, the expression, the pose. And this is Pastor Long as children. He is the pastor at the Episcopal Church on 12th Avenue.
Okay. In Pensacola, Florida. In case
Abigail and Madeline.
Oh, they're very, very, very beautiful. Getting back to what you were talking about before, though, when you have somebody live and talking about that energy back and forth, and now you were saying that it's not always as accurate as far as the way they look, and why is that again?
Well, it takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do this portrait impression, and you're not really concentrating on getting a really photographic likeness.
Right.
You're there to sort of capture something in the eyes, in the expression, and when I do that, I'm happy, even though it's not like a photographic likeness like you would see in the two children.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What is it that you specifically look for when you're painting somebody live like that?
I guess, their intensity.
Yeah.
Are they really happy to be here?
Yeah.
And that just comes across. And
it seems to me like in a lot of your paintings, it seems to me like the people have a certain level of, I'll use the word joy. Even if they don't necessarily have a smile, it to me comes across as there's a certain sense of happiness. Now, is that because of the subjects that you pick, or is that something that you as an artist are able to interpret and bring out?
I think both, really. When they're sitting there and they start thinking about other things, and I always tell them, let your eyes smile.
Yeah.
And this just lightens them up, it lifts them up, and their eyes start twinkling. And I don't really like to paint a lot of teeth because that, number one, they're hard to paint.
Right.
Number two, it just doesn't make a good portrait when a person is smiling ear to ear. And so it just, I like them to be relaxed, and I always tell them, smile with your eyes and think of something really, really good.
Yeah.
And it just sort of brings them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing to paint on a person?
I think the mouth.
Really?
The mouth, because, it's always moving, and here you're getting this person's mouth, and it's, it's very subtle. And I had one teacher tell me that you do your eyes, have all the fun, do them as much as you want to the finish. The nose you just do halfway and leave out the mouth. Now that's an exaggeration, but that I keep that in mind all the time. I just put minimum strokes in the mouth. Yeah.
I guess it's one of those things, sometimes less is more.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
Talk to me about color. I'm gonna pull something up here that you said in your book that I thought was sort of interesting. You said color is used intuitively. Tell me more.
Okay. Like I said, I'm always studying, and I go and I study, and I don't always listen to the teacher. I listen, but I don't practice everything. I come away with maybe one or two things. And I was at a luncheon the other day, and I really don't do luncheons. I take that back because my friends know I don't do lunch. But this was for a special lady who was very ill. But anyway, I was there with this other artist, and she said she was going off to this big workshop, and she was telling me, how, and I said, really, I'm really happy for you. I said, but I really don't do too much of those anymore. My mind is so full of rules and regulations. Now I'm at the stage where I paint more with feeling. It's just very intuitive. And especially when I paint from life, whether it be outdoors or painting from the model, I just sort of forget everything I know and just let the brushes do their thing.
Yeah. Let the creativity flow.
Absolutely. And you sort of get in a zone. And that, you know, whenever I get that feeling of, oh, this is the most wonderful feeling, I always think, gosh, I feel so sorry for people who don't paint. It's just a wonderful, wonderful feeling that you have. And, you know, and they're not all, you know, I was going to say they're not all masterpieces, of course, but I had a wonderful support system.
I think it was something interesting that we were talking about in the past that I want you to touch on, because, and I've had this conversation with a lot of guests over the years. If you're really successful at something, chances are it's your passion. And we talked a little bit about a lot of people who maybe have a little bit of talent or a little bit of ability as artists, but all of a sudden they back away from it because reality sets in. You didn't do that. And give someone out there who has that desire to paint or draw, how do you overcome going, well, I need to do something more real? What is it that breaks you through to make you push?
Gosh, Jeff, that's a tough question, because it's something that you just can't put your finger on. It's got to come from within.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, I had one master who said, when you come to my classroom, you have to have fire in your belly. And that's the way it is for me. I just, if I didn't have this passion, I wouldn't be painting. Yeah. And it's nothing you can teach. It's nothing I can say, this is what you need to do. It's got to come from within you. Yeah. It's just something that you desire, and it doesn't take talent. It just takes work. And if you have the desire, you're going to work. Yeah. You're going to work at it. Yeah. Because I strive to always do better than what I did yesterday. Always trying to up the bar.
Yeah. You know, art is such a subjective thing. And I read something in your book, I thought it was kind of interesting, that there's how you judge your artwork, you know, because you get, I guess, one judgment from critics, maybe art critics, and another from the public. Mm-hmm. How do you balance that?
You know, I love children's art. It's so honest. It's so sincere. And when I judge a show, that's what I look for. How honest is this painting? And you can just pick out the ones that are, it's been said over and over and over. But look at this. This one is so honest, and it's not polished. It's not photographic. It's not, but it's so pure. Yeah. And to me, that's art.
The purity of it all.
Yeah.
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 You have done a lot with the beach, and you've done an awful lot with the Blue Angels. Of course, everybody knows the Blue Angels, and you've captured them in some amazing ways. How did you get into that?
By accident. My whole career has been, you know, putting one foot ahead of the other. And I always tell my students, one of your first obligations is to earn a living with your art. The masters all did it, and you're no different. You just can't say, well, I'm just going to paint for myself. Well, good, fine. But somebody's got to turn on the lights.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, so well, I did that because I thought this would be something that would sell. And it just started. It just started about 10 years ago, and it just sort of mushroomed. And I love it because that supports my art.
Right.
I never have to worry, well, can I go away and study with this person? Right. Yes, I can, because I have my things that sell.
Yeah, and of course you have painted portraits. I know we saw one with a Blue Angel and his family and stuff. So I guess you had the opportunity to mix in the portrait with the...
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing because it opened many doors for me. Yeah. And that echoes back to another story. When I was quite young, studying with this lady from Austria, and she told me, she said, your art will open many doors for you.
Yeah.
And it has.
Yeah.
And we met some wonderful, wonderful people, and all those people on the Blue Angel team are the wives, and it's been great.
Yeah, they're a special group of people. There's no question about
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
When you go somewhere, are you always looking for something to paint? I mean, is that just always at the top of your mind?
It just happens. It
just happens?
Yes, it happens. My daughter and the grandkids, we were all on the trolley car. I have to take another sip.
I'm making you nervous, Nina.
Mm.
So
I'm not used to being in front of a camera. I'm always behind the camera.
Oh,
But and we were getting on the trolley car. We were riding in the trolley car on the beach, and this beautiful black lady steps in, and my daughter said, "I know what you're thinking." So I went over to her. I said, "I hope you don't think I'm weird." I said, "But I'm a painter, and I would love to paint you." And she was so nice. And I did about three images of her.
Wow, that's neat. Speaking of something, you're talking about making a living painting. I've always been curious about this. How do you price paintings?
Oh,
how do you price art?
That's a good one. Okay, and I get asked that a lot. And I want to preface by saying I've had the best teachers in the world, and everything I know I've learned from them. And this is one thing one of them taught me. And I would say, "Well, how do you price your painting?" And so he said, "Okay." He said, "Here's your painting, and here's the money. Now, which looks better, the money or the painting? And do you want to sell it for $300, or do you want the painting? Do you want the $300 or the painting?" And you're going like this. "No, I don't." He said, "When the money looks better than the painting, that's the price."
that's the price to pay. Well, that makes an awful lot of sense.
Yeah.
Do you ever paint something you say, "I wouldn't sell this for, $50 million or whatever"? I mean, do you fall in love with it? I hear a lot of songwriters say, they'll say, "Well, what's your favorite song that you wrote?" And they're like children. Are paintings that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have several that I really love. But nobody else likes them.
Really?
But that's okay. I love them. Yeah. What I like is, I guess, like when I was in Colombia, South America, my one son, Paul, he's got dual citizenship. He lives half the time in Colombia and half the time in the States. And we go down and visit him, and right outside his back door, the fishermen pull in these nets. And I've taken pictures of them, and I've done some really nice paintings, but one of my favorite is just standing there painting them, pulling in the nets. And they're just very sketchy, but you could just feel them. You could feel them pulling in the nets. And that I won't part with that one. I love that. It's just a little painting. Yeah.
What else do you like? What does Nina Fritz like?
People. I love people. I could paint all day just from the live model.
Really? And you just, like you said before, you just get that certain type of energy off of it.
Yeah.
If somebody is just beginning, if they say, especially a young person, they say, I think I have a knack for this, I enjoy it, I love it. What advice would you give them?
Start drawing. Drawing. And you can learn. The other things will, come very soon, but the drawing takes years. And just start your drawing. The Art Students League in New York, it's the oldest Philadelphia, the Academy is the oldest, but this is one of the oldest. And their logo is, there's a line, just like that. And the logo says, it's all in Italian, "Never a day without a line." That's their logo. Yeah.
So always do something.
Every day. except Sunday.
Right.
Every day, draw. Yeah. And you will make your biggest strides in your painting through your drawing. Yeah.
Interesting. At what point do you say, okay, I'm good enough to be a pro? How do you decide that? How do you decide I can make a living at this? I'm not just, you know, doing this on the back of an envelope. I'm good
Yeah.
enough.
You know, you really don't decide those things. They just happen.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you think, wow, you know, it happened, you know. And you don't say, well, you know, it happened. Like this morning, on Thursday, we go to the jail and I paint the inmates. I think I told you that. And so this one inmate I was painting, and this one inmate was saying, well, I'm really working on my style. And so I told him, I turned around, I talked to him, I said, you don't work on your style. I said, your style will come in spite of you. Yeah. You don't say, I'm going to be this style or that style. You just work, and your style will just come in spite of you.
It's just something you develop over time.
Yeah, it's like your handwriting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just kind of find it. Interesting. You have a book, and Nina Fritz paintings, and basically encompasses a whole lot of your work, from the Blue Angels to portraits, rather.
Right from the beginning, where I was born, and has a lot of personal things in there. Yeah.
It's interesting. I particularly enjoyed reading some of the commentary and
Thank you.
Talking about. And I thought, quick on this, but you were talking about. I wanted to bring this up earlier about colors being like music.
Yeah.
You had about 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's just like a rhythm. You get in a rhythm. Yeah, and it just it's hard to explain. It's almost like dancing. You know, when you paint it so long and you paint it from life and you're doing it quick. So you have to think quick, put that color down. Okay, what you put up here, you put down there, and just, you know.
Just becomes part of what you do.
That's right.
That's it, the practice.
Yeah.
It all comes together. It was such a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Jeff.
We wish you
You're
all
a
the
doll.
best. Thank you so much. That's nice of you to say. Nina Fritz. By the way, you can find out more about Nina and also see more of her work at ninafritz.com. As for us, well, we're on Facebook at Conversations with Jeff Weeks, and you can also view some of our past episodes online at wsre.org/conversations. I hope you enjoyed our broadcast. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you for watching. Take good care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.
Support for this program is provided in part by these corporate sponsors. And by viewers like you.